Good morning. It is Saturday, the 26th of September, 2020. Pastor Ron Jetter, Immanuel Lutheran Church, Grandview, Washington, on the road. Yesterday's message didn't go out. I'm going to try to do it again today. That's one thing about traveling, is that there are variations in internet, variations in the ability to connect up, and just kind of a different rhythm of life than when I'm doing it at home, where everything is stable, everything is tested, or even there at the church where I can at least record this and go somewhere stable. We hear traffic in the background. It's a Saturday. It should be a fairly quiet street, but it is a major thoroughfare. I'm next to the University of California, Davis campus in Sacramento, where the UC Davis Medical School and all of the medical campus and Shriners Children's Hospital are located. So being a teaching hospital, we don't get a lot of ambulance noise and things like that coming in. We did have 3 helicopters come in during the night. It's amazing. The noises of the city are just so very different than the noises of the country. You get used to one thing, and it's hard to sleep at first. It takes a while to get back into that rhythm. We haven't lived in a city since my first call back in 1985, when we moved from Oakland, California, very, very busy street there, down to the California desert, a research town, a Navy town called China Lake. And it was remote enough, and back then we didn't have internet and all that too, but the only sound in China Lake that you would hear would be the F-18s flying over about 6 o'clock every morning, 5 days a week. And it was just something they did. It's part of what the Navy's mission is, keeping us safe, and they had to practice. Genesis chapter 48. We're just a few chapters away from finishing up this wonderful book. And as I had said before, one of the things the story does is repeats details. So in chapter 47, there's Joseph with his dad, and Jacob is failing, and we expect Jacob to breathe his last. But wait, he didn't yet. Chapter 48. After this, Joseph was told, "Your father is ill." Well, his father's 180 some odd years old. He's not ill, he's just worn out. Or as my friend Steve used to say, he's got the dwindles. He's just dwindling. His life force is gone. Joseph took with him his 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. When Jacob was told, "Your son Joseph has come to you," he summoned his strength and sat up in bed. And Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me at Luz in the land of Canaan. And he blessed me, and he said to me, I'm going to make you fruitful and increase your numbers, and I will make of you a company of people, will give you this land to your offspring after you, a perpetual holding. Therefore your 2 sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you are now mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, just as Reuben and Simeon are mine. As for the offspring born to you after this, they shall be yours. They shall be recorded under the names of their brothers with you after them." Wow, okay. So, Jacob is saying, I get your 2 sons because now I have 12 again. But wait a minute, he actually has 13. Joseph is 1, that makes 11. 12 minus 11, 12 minus 1 is 11. 11 plus 2 is 13. So how do you get the 12 tribes of Israel? Well, as we will find out later, Levi will not be a geographic tribe. Levi and Levi's descendants will have a whole different purpose, whole different calling. When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he said, "Who are these?" Joseph said to his father, "They are my sons, whom God has given me here." And he said, "Bring them to me that I may bless them." Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, and he could not see well. So Joseph brought them near, and he kissed them and embraced them. Israel said to Joseph, "I did not expect to see your face, and here God has let me see your children also." Joseph removed them from his father's knees. He bowed himself with his face to earth. Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Israel's left, and Manasseh in his left hand toward Israel's right. And here's this curious note that we get. Israel stretched out his right hand and laid it on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, his left hand the head of Manasseh, crossing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. He blessed Joseph and said, "The God before whom my ancestors and Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my days, the angel who has redeemed me from harm. Bless the boys. Let their name be perpetuated. In the name of my ancestors Abraham and Isaac, let them grow into a multitude on earth. When Joseph saw that his father had laid his right hand on the hand of Ephraim, it displeased him. He took his father's hand to remove it, but his father said, "Not so. This one is firstborn," said Joseph. But his father refused and said, "I know, my son. He shall also become a people, and also shall be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall be a multitude of nations." So he blessed them that day. This strange thing, this battle between the left hand and the right hand, left-handedness and right-handedness. What's going on there? Wow. So he took the two boys and went like this, crossing his hands. The younger, the older. Well, we've seen this in every generation before, that the younger was the one who prevailed. Abraham had Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac was 13 years younger. He inherited the promise, not Ishmael. Isaac had Jacob and Esau. Esau was firstborn. Jacob was the younger and got the promise of God. And now these two, Ephraim and Manasseh, the children of Joseph born in Egypt, are to be blessed and brought into the tribes of the children of Israel. And Israel says that the younger of the two will be greater than the older of the two. Ephraim, younger than Manasseh, will nonetheless be ahead of Manasseh. So even among the 12, or now the 13 sons/tribes of Israel, there is a rank order. Boy, yeah. So we have birth order, we have gender, and now we have left and right-handedness. We have all these things. Have we overcome those kinds of prejudices? I don't think so. I think those are so deeply ingrained, so deeply embedded in us, that to this day, and as I have said before, my parents, my in-laws, they chose the firstborn to be in charge of their estates. The firstborn in both cases lived farthest away, had the least amount of contact. The firstborn was a male in both cases. In the case of my mother-in-law, my wife was intimately connected with the details of mother-in-law because she lived with us for 5 years. And so it was, she was reminded over and over, now remember, when I die, your brother has all the things in charge. And of course, the first thing after mother-in-law died, my wife's brother came and said, "So, what am I supposed to do?" And sure enough, after my mother had died, my brother came to me and said, "So you talked to Mom, right? She told you what I'm supposed to do?" Yeah, there's a book. She and I went through it, and she told me all the things I'm supposed to tell you. So here's what you're supposed to do. It's funny the ways we have of getting around things. So that's the birth order thing. And then there's the left-handedness, right-handedness thing. It came up at dinner last night. There was 6 of us at dinner, my daughter and her new husband, and my wife's cousin down here in Sacramento and her husband. And 3 out of the 6 of us were left-handed. Considering only 11% of the population is, that's a pretty good number. So, yeah, we were well represented. And sorry about the background noise, but it's a change from the country life, right? Getting out here in the sun for once. Yeah, so half of us, 50% of us, were left-handed. The French word for left-handedness is gauche. Oh, how gauche. In other words, how unrefined, how uncouth, how rude. The Latin word is sinister. Yeah. And of course, the word for right is adroit, or adroit in French. And in Latin, the same thing. It's, dextros, your dexterity. Manual dexterity means literally, I have right-handedness. So if you're good with your left hand, it means, wow, it's as though you're right-handed. So, yeah, little insults that left-handers simply get used to, and right-handers say, get over it, it's nothing. And yet, as we were navigating, my daughter is telling her husband, now go left. No, I mean the other left. And that's frequent we do that because we're told for us left means right, but you have to reverse it in certain situations, but not in others. So we are constantly having to negotiate directions. We just are. Life's a little bit more difficult. Maybe that's why we're more creative. Well, at least that's my take on it. Next week, no daily messages. Again, sorry about yesterday's message. Don't go looking for it because this is it again, for the most part. No messages next week. I'll be down here in California and then on the Oregon coast taking a week off. Remember, tomorrow morning we have morning class, Sunday morning class, 9 a.m., worship at 10 a.m. See you then.